My once best friend posted a photo on her social media account on the 10th anniversary of my marriage. In the photo, her daughter and my son were wrapped in my husband's and her arms. The caption said, "The perfect pair." I commented, "Perfect indeed." Soon, the post was deleted. The next day, my husband rushed home and asked me, "Sophie is finally recovering. Why are you provoking her?" My son even pushed me and accused me, "It's all your fault for making Tammy cry." I took out the divorce papers and threw them in their faces. Well, it's my fault, so I quit your perfect family of 4. Chapter 1. The divorce papers were printed half an hour ago. Before that, I was sitting on the couch in the living room all night. The dozen dishes I carefully prepared remained untouched on the dining table. The Ultraman-themed cake had melted beyond recognition. Yesterday was my son Anthony's birthday. My husband, Mark Lennon, told me to prepare everything and that he would bring Anthony back for his birthday. However, I waited for hours at home, only to be disappointed by Sophie's post of the perfect family of 4. How ridiculous. Mark did not expect me to ask for a divorce. He frowned and tore up the agreement. "Lily, what's all the fuss about? We only went to meet Sophie and forgot to tell you about it, didn't we?" After saying that, his gaze fell on the food on the dining table and a hint of guilt flashed in his eyes. His tone softened. "Fine, I forgot to call you last night. It was my fault. I will fix that. I'll clean up the table. You go and take a nap. I'll take you and Anthony out for a meal at noon." He had always been like this, slapping me hard in the face and then rewarding me with sweet gestures after. Even if he knew that he had gone too far, he would never apologize but only grace me with a way out. If I didn't act accordingly, he would fight back until I give up and comply. In the past, I would give in, but this time, I just took out another set of divorce agreements and threw it on the coffee table. I printed dozens of copies. You can tear them up again. Mark was so furious that he shattered a bowl into pieces. He impatiently stared at me and said, "Aren't you just jealous that Anthony likes Sophie more? Lily, don't you forget, you owe her. Anthony and I are taking care of Sophie and her daughter to atone for your sins." "Atone for my sins? What sin?" "Sophie and I were best friends. During the summer break of our junior year, she asked me to hang out. I was about to head home in the evening. I wanted to take the main road, but she insisted on taking a smaller road and said that a friend was waiting for her at the intersection, so we parted ways. The next morning when I woke up, Mark rushed to my house and grabbed my collar. He asked me why I didn't call the police and why I didn't care about Sophie. I was confused at first, but later found out that Sophie had been assaulted by some gangsters after we parted ways. Sophie claimed that she got caught by them because she wanted to protect me from the gangsters. She was lying. I tried my best to defend myself but no one believed me. The surveillance system was faulty too, so I was left with all the blame. Since then, I have been seen as a sinner in everyone's eyes. My parents reprimanded me for being ruthless, and Mark blamed me for being cold-blooded. All their love for me was given to Sophie in the name of making amends. They even took my child away, saying that I had no morals and was unworthy of raising him. Because of this, Anthony and I's relationship hung on a thread. No matter what, I loved him dearly, and I tried hard to amend our relationship. The two of us looked at each other. His eyes were cold and full of disdain, as if I was his enemy. "You ruined my father's and Aunt Sophie's lives. Without you, Aunt Sophie would have been my mother." I shuddered with a frown. "Who told you so?" Anthony frowned. "Isn't it?" I looked at Mark, expecting an explanation. However, he just avoided my gaze. Anthony expressed that if that incident never happened, I would have married Sophie instead. In the past, I would demand an explanation. He was my childhood sweetheart. I was the one that introduced them to each other. I was his girlfriend first. Now, I could not care anymore. No matter what Anthony asked of me, I decided that I would have nothing to do with him from now on. I picked up my suitcase and walked out the door. "Have a good read. I shall see you at the attorney's." Chapter 2. Mark didn't expect my luggage to be already packed, so he rushed over to stop me. At this moment, the sound of the door unlocking came from outside. The next moment, Sophie walked in holding her daughter Tammy. I did not expect her fingerprint to be keyed into our home door's lock. However, I clearly told Mark that I didn't want to see Sophie in this home. She defamed me. She took everything from me, and I hate her. Obviously, Mark didn't take my words to heart. When Sophie saw me, her expression changed. She displayed a pitiful look. "Lily." Tammy immediately hid behind her, as if I were a savage beast. Tammy cried and said, "Aunt Lily, don't hit my mother." I looked coldly at this little girl, who was only 10 years old, that looked extremely innocent. However, it was she who, during Christmas Eve, accused me of beating Sophie at my parents'. That night was a reunion that I had been looking forward to for several years. It was also the first time ever since the incident that my parents were willing to let me be home for the holidays. I tried hard to make my parents love me again, but Sophie pushed me down from the staircase. My leg was injured, and no one batted an eye. Everyone rushed to Sophie's side instead. They gathered around her to see if she was okay. I cried from the pain and said, "She pushed me." Sophie didn't defend herself but said bitterly with red eyes, "Whatever she said." Tammy suddenly burst into tears. As she came down the stairs, she asked, "Auntie, why did you push my mommy?" "Mommy did not want to come here and disturb your family reunion. It's Granny and Granddad who insisted on inviting us here. If you don't like us here, we can leave." "Why did you push Mommy?" After she said that, my mother rushed up to me and slapped me in the face. She spoke with disgust in her voice. "I thought you had sincerely repented in the past few years, but I didn't expect you to be even more vicious than before." At that moment, tears flowed out of my eyes like a broken dam. I insisted with tears in my eyes that I didn't push Sophie, yet no one one believed me. My dad looked at me with a disappointed face. Can a child as young as Tammy know how to lie? Mark clenched his fists and said coldly, Lily, you really are a lost cause. Anthony came over and kicked my broken leg with intention, causing me to cry out in pain. However, no one cared about my pleas. They felt as if they had finally released their resentment after seeing me wince in pain. No one said a word, but their faces were clear and said everything. They believed I deserved every bit of this pain. Anthony said, you are a bad mother. I hate you so much. That day, I limped away from their home in tears. I still remember the heartache from that night. With that final push, I decided to file for a divorce. At that time, he just calmly tore apart my divorce papers and said, Lily, don't you understand? No one can love you except me now. I was stunned and speechless, questioning if he ever even loved me. He saw through me and mocked, if I didn't love you, how could I have tolerated all your evil deeds? Lily, your parents no longer want you. They want to accept Sophie as their adopted daughter. Just stay by my side and atone your sins for Sophie with me, okay? That night, my unloved self